Howdy folks, TJ here. Holy smokes, look at the firepower I have on my kitchen table. Why am I doing this? Well, kind of a fun thing is to do a quick little inventory of what I have. But this is going to be my first Sinclair / Timex / a slight deviation buyer's guide for folks looking to maybe buy their first Sinclair or Timex computer, or maybe you're a seasoned veteran and don't have all these models and want to find out a little bit more about them. So I thought I'd kind of do my 2 cents worth, maybe 3 cents, about buying a Sinclair in 2021. 2020 was a crazy year, I tell you. And I really sicked my teeth into the fun of Sinclair computers. In a quick history, most of you know I'm from the United States of America, where Sinclair was not a big staple over here. It was, Timex had their line, but beyond that, once they kind of went out, yeah, the Ataris and the Commodores and the Apples, they pretty much went out in the United States. But this bloke here has fallen in love with Sinclair. Why? People always ask me, gee, why do you want this? Well, they are sexy as hell. That's not the main reason, but I'm going to say the biggest reason is the community of people surrounding, and by the way, you hear that little chime? I've got an old-fashioned clock. You'll see a lot of woodwork in here. You probably can't see it in the video, but old-fashioned phones and stuff. I like old stuff. One reason I like the Sinclair, but my biggest reason is the people. I'll say fallen in love. Sure, why not? I'm an Italian Portuguese guy. I like a little loving. I love the people. Most of them. There's some crackpots. Probably some think I'm a crackpot. I don't care. But yeah, every platform has that. But I have found that most of the folks in the Sinclair platform are quite pleasant. Some of them have a little bit different sense of humor, but that could be that whole thing of British humor, someone will say, and maybe I'm getting used to it. But the people are awesome, and I have fallen in love with the whole platform, the people, creating my own Facebook groups, Sinclair Society, which now has almost 429 people, now part of the member count, and we're just having fun using Sinclair. Something about maybe the basic architecture of programming really sucked me in. So 2017 actually, when I heard about the Next, I go, that's cool. 2018, I started exploring it a little bit more. And then I decided, okay, I need to get into this platform. I need to get a Speccy next. Before that, I'm going to start collecting others because I want to learn about the platform. So you'll see I've got a pretty dang good collection for a little over 2 years of being on this platform. So I do apologize. This video is going to be a little bit long, and we're going to try to take this in one take. But it's all because of the Speccy Next. This is what started it. It is my favorite computer. Yes, I still love my Atari 800. That love of my first real computer will never fade away. But at my age, almost 55, the programming, I've really enjoyed Next Basic, and I'm trying to program my own games. It's a lot of fun. So buy one. Have you already bought one? If not, buy one. It's going to be great. And we're going to kind of cover each computer a little bit. I'm not going to cover it bumper to bumper. I've made videos about each of these computers to a degree, and you're welcome to ask questions, and you're welcome to know that I'm just a dude in the United States. I'm no professional. I'm no tech guru. I'm just a guy that loves the platform, and I'm learning, and I've learned quite a bit, but I'm learning as I go, and I can answer probably a lot of questions, but not everything, and I'm not afraid to say, nope, I don't have the answer for that. There's probably other folks in the groups that would be able to answer that. But I do know quite a bit now, I think. And you can see I have a lot of different computers. And I did do my best to kind of dust them off. But yeah, you're going to see some probably dust. I've got a real dusty country house here. So let's start. Do you own one? No? Okay. Or you own one, but don't own all of them. Let's start from the oldest, the ZX80, my most recent purchase. Look at this sweet nugget of gold. This is the ZX80. It's probably going to be my least used. You'll know that I'm not a collector just to collect them and stick them up on a shelf and say, I own one. Nothing wrong with that, but I am a user kind of guy. Quilts, I don't hang up typically on walls unless it's like a decorative one that's special, like a Volkswagen bus that my mother-in-law made me. I don't comfy cozy in that. But we've got other quilts that we use to keep warm. So use the stuff. Keep it fresh. Enjoy it. And this is the ZX80. Wonderful. Probably the sleekest computer, and it's the one that I remember from back when I was choosing. Do I buy an Atari 800? Or do I buy the ZX80? Well, we went the Atari 800 route for common sense reasons. I'm a kid in the United States, color, sound, and I saved $1,000 myself doing paper routes to buy my first computer. So it was buying one that really did a lot of bang for the lot of money. But I always wanted to get a ZX80, and I recently purchased one. Cool computer, it works, it arrived not working quite right, but it's because you had to have a specific TV. It was really picky on all the TVs I had. It wouldn't work on any of them, and I purchased this little black and white 5-incher, and it works. So I know it works. So I'm going to explore the ZX80, but that is probably the one computer that's going to be kind of a conversation piece. I own one. I will try it, and I will use it periodically, but the odds are it's not going to be one I'm going to harp on lots. It's pretty good looking. I think probably one of the most unique, sleek-looking little computers, and it's white, which is different from my normal black fetish. I love black computers. What's next? Well, in the United States, Timex was king. Timex Sinclair. For all practical purposes, this first one, the TS1000, is the same exact computer as your ZX81 overseas, and with a little bit of a difference. The ports, obviously this is NTSC for the United States use, and the ports actually on the side are arranged a little bit different. Maybe they had to move things around to accommodate, to make that work on the United States TV. But TS1000, that's the real first computer that could easily be purchased in the United States back in the day. This one's got the little 16K memory pack on it. And this is an early computer that I did purchase when I started buying Sinclairs in late 2018. Technically, I purchased my first one in late 2018, but it didn't arrive until February 2019. So that's the TS1000. It is basically your ZX81 from over in United Kingdom and overseas. So in the United States, you can buy these left and right on eBay. Yeah, it's not going to be, the keyboard's one of those little touch-sensitive keyboards. I don't know what mileage you'll get out of it, but there's enhancements that I don't own yet that I can buy that make it a cool computer. You can add color. You can add sound. These devices are not readily available, like ZX Plus. You kind of got to get on a waiting list. This Chroma device to add color, again, I think kind of a waiting list. So I'm going to get those because I want to explore the TS1000 more in 2021. But you can buy these relatively cheap on eBay. Grab one if you've never played around with it. Be prepared, you're going to be using cassettes to load things, which is a whole nother ball of wax, which we're not going to cover in this video too much. So what's next? You have a little bit more money. They're a little bit more expensive, but the TS1500 from Timex. Again, basically the ZX81, but with a sweeter keyboard, actual keys. It's kind of like the Speccy, the rubber dead flesh type of keys. It's in silver, so it kind of looks a little bit sleek. And but it's the same computer. A little bit of extra enhancements on it, but for all practical purposes, what most people are going to do with it, it's a ZX81 hopped up with a nice keyboard and some extra benefits. You can get these in the United States. They're a little bit more rare. I don't see them pop up on eBay all the time, and when they do, they're a little bit more costly. But I did buy one, and it's a cool computer. Let's talk about the king of the Timex, and the first actual computer I received that was a Sinclair, but it's also Timex, is the TS2068. This is basically a Speccy with a nice keyboard, nice to a degree, kind of hard chiclet kind of keys, but they're actually pretty comfortable in my opinion. Something I could definitely type on. It's color, it's got sound. Out of the box, they kind of crippled it a little bit in that you can't just, on your average, stick a Speccy cassette on there and load it and play it. You have to get this little Spectrum cartridge to play Speccy or most Speccy games. And they're kind of hard to come by. There is a guy named Don Superfo, I think, on eBay and that retro sellers group. I forget the name off the top of my head, but somebody will chime in, or I'll try to put a post. Sell your retro, sell my retro, one of those. He sells a twister board that plugs into the back. He also has one that plugs into the cartridge port. That's unique about the TS2068. Look at this. A Speccy, but with a cartridge port built in. Timex really did have some wonderful ideas that the Speccy itself didn't have. Cartridge was one of them. So anyway, you can get this twister device or this board that gives it better Speccy compatibility. The twister board plugs in the back, and then it has Speccy ROMs on it. So pretty much most any Speccy game that's 48K or less, you should be able to play on here. He also has a new cartridge, like I said, that you can plug in here that does that Speccy compatibility. And I didn't have luck with that one myself. But he also has a third device which plugs into the back that adds S-video out. The video on this is horrendous. From my experience, it was really bad and noisy. But you can get this twister board, or I should say, I think he calls it the twister, but it's a new board that plugs into the back, adds the Speccy capability, compatibility, and also S-video out, which means you're going to get much better video. I need to get one of those. I did have a cool David Anderson, I believe his name is. He sent me a cool S-video card that I happen to use on mine for when I want to have a little nicer video. But I don't think he sells them. It was something that he was working on. But I know Don Superfo does sell that expandability. So TS2068, if you're in the United States, they're a little bit more costly, but still relatively, not too bad on price. And this was the king of the computers before Timex said, we're out of the computer business. But I'm glad I own one of those. So that's the Timex computers. What's next? Boy, this is going to be a long video. But let's start by talking about Sinclair. You'll notice I'm missing something on here. I don't have the 48K or 16K rubber dead flesh keyboard Speccy. I do have the Omni, and we'll talk about that last, but I don't own all of the computers yet. I own quite a few. But let's talk about this one first. This is basically your typical 48K Speccy, but with a nicer keyboard. A little bit different design. I purchased this pretty early on. If you want a nicer keyboard and you're going to be doing some coding, this is much nicer, than, in my opinion, than the rubber key Speccy. Although I kind of got used to the rubber key Speccy, and I made my first game on this Omni, which is basically the same in terms of typing in on it. So I need to get the 16 and 48K version eventually. But until then, you can get the 48K Speccy. Nice keyboard, nice design. It looks like a little mini Toastrack without the Toastrack. And a little bit cheaper. So highly recommended. What's behind it? The bee's knees. I had to have this computer, and it was the one that I used up until my next arrived the most. In fact, you'll see the ZX80 connected to the back. That is a cool HDMI enhancement that lets you connect to a modern TV. Nice video. I did a lot on this, and I still do use it, less so now that I got my next. But this is the Toastrack. They are expensive, and I paid a lot of money for mine. Was it worth it? Absolutely. I love the Toastrack. It is kind of like the ZX80. It has that memory of the ZX80. I remember that back in the day, and I kind of remember the Toastrack too, and it's the most unique. It's got this little toasty rack, and I've got a little bit of arthritis forming in my old age. This warms up nicely to keep my fingers warm. But it's 128K, so you've got more memory. You can play pretty much any of the... Man, it's dusty. And I just dusted these things off. This house is like a dustbin. Anyway, if you've got the money, awesome. I just absolutely love the Toastrack Spectrum 128 model. Be prepared to spend a lot of money, especially if you want one that's boxed. So, what's next? I haven't used these as much, but this is basically a Toastrack, Amstraded, with a tape player built in with a couple other changes. But this was the first, they call it the Plus 2. Don't get it confused with the black Plus 2. You'll see this is kind of a gray color. So this is the first one that they came out with. It's got the built-in cassette player, which is cool, because trying to get a cassette player that worked was a hard thing I had to tackle with all these computers. I finally got it figured out. Watch some of my other videos about that. But yeah, getting a tape player that actually loads things was a bear. This has got it built in. And it's a nicer keyboard than the original, Speccy 48K model. I should say the rubber one. So you've got the tape player. You've got the gray one, basically, and I don't think they had black ones in this, but the gray one kind of says it's the original plus 2. It's basically a Toastrack, again, with your cassette capability added to it. If you're super in the now and know some other differences, post them down below, but that's basically what I kind of see the big difference between it. You add the tape player and a gray color and a nice keyboard, and yeah, it's the first Amstrad, but it's still officially Sinclair. It's got the big name plastered all over it. Which leads to the next one. This is probably my least used one so far, and it's because I already own one floppy. But this is the Plus 3. Plus 3, nice black color. I do like the black more than the gray. This has got a 3-inch floppy on it. Not your normal 3.5-inch floppy, but a 3-inch floppy. 128K, so you can run all the 128K Speccy games. There's some uniqueness about the Plus 3 model also. That's, when you started getting into the Amstrad models, you started getting these joysticks that were only compatible with it. Like this Plus 2 came with joysticks. And the joysticks were like the Sinclair model, which is a little bit different. So I think over on the side, yeah, use only Sinclair SJS1 joysticks. So it's a little bit more unique in that respect. There's add-on cards and things you can do to run any old joystick. You'll find out on Sinclair's, there's tons of enhancements, tons of things that plug into the back expansion bus that add SD card capability for reading and writing to, joystick support, video support, you name it. They probably have it. But this was kind of it. This was the last hurrah. They had a black Plus 2 that did some newer changes. And I'm not going to get into the stuff about video here is not right and you have to do tweaks and all that. This is just a general Speccy in the United States or just want to buy a Speccy. Know that there could be, as they started moving into models, some things that weren't quite right. Sound might not be quite right on one model, and you have to do a couple of tweaks and adjustments and solder this to that to make it better. Or you just don't worry about it and you live with it. In most cases, a lot of people probably don't utilize these day by day. A lot of folks have moved on to this, which has a lot of the fun built in, and it's a little bit more modern. But I still do use them. I need to use this one more. If you ask TJ, how do you read and write a floppy drive on this? I don't know. Reading's pretty easy because you pretty much stick it in and turn it on. And I've got Tetris, and I've played Tetris. But I've never written to a 3-inch floppy on a Speccy before. But this was the last one. Plus 3. After that, Sinclair went bye-bye. Sad day. But it lives on. It's 2021. Holy smokes! And this is, in my opinion, an official Sinclair because they got the rights and legal. Can I use the Sinclair on this new modern computer? And that's the Speccy Next. This is the one I use the most. They are Kickstarter only. They've already had 2 of them. The Kickstarter 2 is over. It comes for delivery in summer 2021. So if you don't have one ordered, it's going to be a little hard to get. People will be selling, and you can look on eBay selling pledges. They are expensive. Some folks are fair. They'll say, I just need to make a few bucks on it. I just want to move it on. But there's others that are gouging on price. I'm not going to get into the politics of is that fair or not. Just don't buy it if it's something that you can't afford to pay for. But the Speccy Next is the bee's knees. I tell you, if you own one, you love it. I absolutely love this computer. And I'm trying to create my first next version of a game on this. I even ordered a second one. So not only do I own the first Kickstarter model, I have the second Kickstarter model on order too. That ends with the Omni. Technically, my second computer that I received, it does have the word Sinclair on it. It's because the cases are readily available that have the Sinclair. I don't know the legalities behind it, but at this point, you can buy these cases. There's modern versions of the 128K board. This particular one, I think is Harlequin based, and there's a gentleman overseas that makes these little laptops. You can also buy it without the laptop, but this is a laptop. Look at that. A little Speccy on steroids with a monitor. I love the heck out of this thing. And it is the first Speccy I created a game on. I keyed in for weeks and hours on the rubber keyboard, dead flesh keyboard. My first game, Invasion of the Cloud People, for the Speccy 48K. Also runs on the 128K. Didn't have anything, you know, super beeper or better sounding on the game. It was a 48K game, basically. And I designed it, I made it, I programmed it, I put it up on HIO, and a few people have enjoyed it. I still play it periodically. And I did it all on this computer. The one caveat is these take a while to get. It's pretty much a one-man show in terms of getting them all built up and sent out. So it can take a long time to get it. Is it worth it? Absolutely. This is a fun little Speccy. Power outage here in California goes out. I've got 2 to 3 hours of power. These are batteries in here that last for, like I said, 2 to 3 hours. I can play a quick game. I can enjoy myself. Take it up to the bedroom and play coloristic because I can't get past level 59. And it's got built-in sound, everything. So cool. Fun little computer. Little problem with the early models is the beeper sounds really, really low, but you can plug in a little external speaker if you can't hear it. But the AY sound, the better sounds sound perfectly fine. The newer Rev 4 of this, I don't know if it corrected for that sound issue or not, but they're up to like Rev 4 of the motherboard. He's starting to sell them again. Highly recommended, but again, be prepared to wait. And don't be a pest and bug them the heck, for it. Know that it could take a year. I don't know what the current ETA is, but well worth it. Lastly, it's not a Speccy, but it is one that I absolutely had to have, was the QL. Look at this bad boy. It's like a train. It's so long, you plug cards into it, it's going to hit the wall over here. This is a 16-bit computer. Some of their paperwork says, well, it's a 16-bit, but it's an 8-bit bus, so things kind of do slow down in some of the areas. But technically, this is a 16-bit computer, and they're using a 68008 processor, not your more normal 68,000 like the Ataris and the Amigas. So it was hamstringed a little bit in that respect, but it is got the built-in, 2 of them, little micro cartridges for feeding in and writing your games and all that stuff to it. It was kind of their answer to the business side of things. Unfortunately, it didn't really do super well. They sold about 140,000. To me, that's a big number, but in computer, that's not. And so when Sinclair sold, Amstrad did not continue on this line. Some other people tried to continue it on, and I don't know if it was legal issues or what, but they had some computers that were kind of QLE or QL based. This video is not about that. This is about true Sinclair, or in my case, the United States, the Timex Sinclair. I consider it a Sinclair. There's lots of deviations. There's Russian Sinclairs. You name it. There's probably an Ethiopian Sinclair. I have no idea. But these are the main ones. These are the guts of it. This video's long. I had a lot of talks, but hopefully I kind of generically covered stuff a lot in this to kind of give you a general sense of what to buy. In my opinion, if you have about $500 and somebody's willing to sell it for 500, 600, maybe even 700, the next. Or wait for the next Kickstarter if they do another one. This is it. This does it all. This is the king of the kings, in my opinion, my favorite computer. But if you don't, what's second? I'd buy an Omni. If you've got the time, the Omni plays a lot of the Speccy 128 games, and it's a laptop! That's so cool! Not even Amiga has a laptop. I know Amiga's a lot more powerful, but look at this! It's a laptop in a little Speccy. So cool. After that, any of them. They're all fun. They all can play and enjoy games. If you're going to get a Speccy 128, get the ZX80. It lets you plug into an HDMI monitor. Makes your life a lot easier. I'll end with, if you're in the United States, some of these computers are 220 volt. Some of them you can buy your 110 volt adapter, like the older 48K Speccy there. That's pretty easy. You can buy a generic adapter on eBay or Amazon, run it in the United States off of 110. But knowing that I purchased some that were pretty much 220 volt only, I didn't want to play around with trying to create your funky power supply. I've got this cool 220 110 adapter that basically takes my 110, amps it up a little bit, and makes it 220 to where I can use 220 devices. And I've got plenty. I've got an Oric that's 220. I've got other platforms that are 220 volt based. I can play them with it. The adapter is about 60 bucks, and it was a nice one that you can be proud to show off on your desk. And I made a video about that too. So, anything else? I don't think so. I need a drink of water now. If you have any questions, post below. I'll do my best to answer. Again, I am not a guru. Use your own judgment. Use your own time researching. Don't blame me if you buy something and it's not what you thought it was. This is just a bloke in the United States idea of his progress and the world of Sinclair. I absolutely love the platform. I love most of the people. I'll say most of them. And I've just fallen in love with it. And I can't wait to see with the Speccy next out in force. About 9,000 of them, I think, have basically sold by the time people get them in their hands this summer. It's going to be a growing platform that I think a lot of people are going to love the heck out of. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching my video. If you have any questions, post below. Of course, join Sinclair Society Facebook group. I manage and admin that group, and there's a lot of fun people in there. We play Game of the Week, and we can answer questions. And there's some folks in there that are a lot more knowledgeable about me, about being able to talk about the Sinclair, because they've been using it since the 80s. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your week. See ya. Peace.